This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Treasure Island has your ticket to see the Wild in Las Vegas. Skate over to Treasure Island Resort and Casino for the official Minnesota Wild Game 2 watch party featuring an epic Wild road trip giveaway. Pair the playoff action with free food, drink specials, and exclusive prize giveaways. You could win a trip to see the Wild play the Golden Knights in Las Vegas for Game 5. Learn more at ticasino.com.
When Game 2 goes into triple OT, Ryan writes, and ends at 4 a.m., I'll be expecting an apology. Let me tell you something. If that happens, you realize how mythic that would be? You kidding me? People would be talking about that game for centuries.
What would we call it?
Not for years. We'd have to. You're right. We'd have to come up with some kind of. It would have a name. That would be mythic. The lore associated with, and the damn game Central Time ended at 3:55 a.m. Come on. Maybe I should try a different approach to those I've been ripping for being utterly obsessed with the start times. And by the way, we hear this all the time in every sport. You can't grow the game to the younger generation with these late start times, Dan. It sounds good, but not every game's going to start at that time. The weekend games don't all start at that time. And I don't even know that I buy the premise. I remember watching a lot of late night games, man. And I shouldn't have probably been doing it some of the time.
It's all part of the fun.
But it's just all part of the deal. And I just think people are way too obsessed over it. And as you mentioned much earlier in the show, surprised by it every time. Like,
yeah.
I didn't see this coming. It's like, it's so strange. And again, if you do want to view it as a show of disrespect, and I'm not really sure that it is, but if you want to go down that road, to me it's more a function of time zones and West versus East.
Yep.
Then win more series. Get to a place where the league goes, we got to make sure we get those guys in better times. I mean, if they even think that way, then be better. I don't know how to break it to people in the state of hockey. The National Hockey League is not that impressed with us right now. Oh, they like us. They respect our history and our place. But I mean, in all seriousness, we're not the cat's meow. We're not that big a deal in the National Hockey League.
One of my favorite memories on the topic of growing the game with the youngsters.
Yeah.
By the way, Louis has been growing the game in Florida for 25 years, and look what's happened. They've won like 4 cups in the last decade, Tampa and Florida.
That's true.
My favorite memory from last year's Western Conference Finals run for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Game 2, if you recall, against Denver. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing it was an 8:30 start. I'm guessing at minimum, my son, my oldest, could not stay up to watch it. So even if it was 7, maybe he watched the first half. I don't know. I don't think he did. Because you'll recall that was the game where Jamal Murray, threw the heat pack.
Oh, that's right. That's a heat pack.
We were just a pack of wolves just hounding the defensive effort, all those great plays. I wrote on a sheet of paper. The
Doberman defense. That's what people were calling it.
We called it that.
Yeah.
I grabbed a sheet of paper and I wrote the score, whatever it was, Wolves 130, Nuggets like 86, because it was a blowout.
Right.
And I told him I would do this. I was going to put the score on the top of the steps so that when he got up, he could...
First thing he could see.
That would be the first thing he saw. And I can see the top of the steps from our bedroom. And I remember him walking up the steps, grabbing the sheet of paper, and the smile on his face like it was Christmas morning. He came in and said, "Are you serious? That's what happened? Well, we have to watch it." And I said, "It's on the DVR for you, buddy. Go lock it in right now." I'll never forget that moment of him picking up the paper, and he couldn't watch it live. He had to go to bed, but he was ready for it. Another friend of mine, I remember, woke her son up and just said, "Wolves 130, Nuggets 87. Kid's sleeping in his Ant jersey.
Yeah.
He says, "Okay, great." Right. Goes back to bed. You can do it. You can still grow the game with the youth.
You absolutely can.
Even with the late tip times.
Yeah, it's going to be. I saw, maybe I shouldn't browbeat. Let me try it the other way.
Kill him with kindness?
Yeah, it's going to be okay. It's even if it is inconvenient and even if it's a pain in the butt, it's going to be okay. It really is. You're going to find a way to get through it. You're going to find a way maybe to cheat a little bit and watch it and find a way to get a nap in there somewhere the next night when you get back home or whatever the case may be. Or you're just going to plow through it living on the natural high of and all the adrenaline of the Wild are in position to win this series, to knock off the favored Vegas Golden Knights. Right?
I do remember the first time the Wild got out of the first round with Parise and Suter. They went 7 against the Avalanche, and then they went 6, I think, against the Blackhawks. Those were late puck drops, too, even with Chicago being both Central Time Zone.
Yes.
I do remember being at the X Game 6, and I think it was like Dave Schwartz or Chris Long, one of the TV guys, and everyone was gassed.
Yes, yeah.
Because you're going like 3.5, 4 weeks with 2 series, late puck drops, travel, the whole bit. Everyone was tired, but because it's the Cup. We all have to do it. It's what we have to do. That's what happens this time of year. And take advantage, by the way, the fact that each team has a weekend home game afternoon.
That's a great point.
So even if you want to go Saturday at 3,
can
I
you
think
grow
the Wild play. You can grow the game.
Be damned.
Wolves 2:30 against the Lakers, game 4. Each game 4 is on the weekend during a weekend afternoon.
Yeah, it's
lovely.
And I think a lot of it is reflex and habit. Dan, for those whining, he writes, about Wolves and Wild playing at the same time on Tuesday, Nuggets and Avs and Lakers, Clips and Kings are also playing at the same time during the first round. I stay up late anyway. Bring it on. Maybe we can make a bit out of this. Clayton suggests we appreciate how you, in terms of telling us how to beat the heat and how to use an ice scraper, those reminders. But maybe we also need to do a segment on battling terrible tip times.
Oh, yeah.
That could be the answer.
On Fox 9 Good Day.
Is that not a TV bit right there?
Totally.
We're handing Lori Fisher and company a Fox 9 bit.
They'll do it. I'm sure
and
we'll
they'll do
probably
several of them.
We'll get interviewed tomorrow when we do Enough Said. They'll want our late tip time
I wonder
tips.
If those extra rulers they have when they measure all the snow and various drifts, whether that could be used somehow. Probably not. I'm not sure.
Oh, when someone falls asleep, you just hit them with the ruler.
You tap them.
Just smack them on the face, wake them up. We used to do that with a broom when my dad would fall asleep.
Yeah, I like I said, I think we're gonna all be okay. I'm very curious to see how they handle this. Not the times, the series and the opportunity that's there. Because, go back to, the Wolves. Is it fair to say, the Wolves were a better regular season team last year than the Wild have been this year, right?
Yes.
Because the Wild were on that same pace early, and then they tapered off, but they had the significant injuries. But even with that great regular season record, that raised expectations, but there was still, okay, what are you going to do with it?
Especially with the first round opponent, Phoenix.
That had swept us, right?
We had a lot of trepidation going into that.
So, that's the great opportunity that the Wild have here too. They can, and believe me, if they get ahead in this series or they make things interesting in this series, people are going to find a way to watch. I'm convinced of it.
Want to give away some money?
Might as well.
FanandBigDeck.com. Want to give you a shot to win some bonus bucks. The keyword for the 4 o'clock hour is check. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword check.
Sam Mitchell in about 15.
Your home for NFL draft coverage is KFAN. Get live updates and expert analysis leading up to draft day and reactions to all the action from pick 1 through the 7th round. KFAN is your draft headquarters, presented locally by Heating and Cooling 2. Go to heatcool2.com. That's heatcool2.com to book your service today.
Trail Ref guy writes, Wolves losing 6, Wild losing 5. Yes, all the negativity in this town sucks.
Know what?
That would be disappointing if we both clubs got eliminated in round 1. Something we're very accustomed to. Really, what we're most accustomed to is the Wild making the playoffs, not advancing.
Yeah.
The Wolves not making the playoffs. But this is it 4 straight years for the Wolves?
Yes. Yeah.
Which is unprecedented, right? We've never made the playoffs. This is the first time in our history.
No,
that can't be true because we had a bunch of one and dones with Flip.
Yeah, it was at least 7.
Yeah, you're right.
With Flip and KG.
Since that stretch, obviously it's true, but yeah, you're right. It was we kept winning. We wouldn't win 50, and then nothing would happen once the postseason began.
Second straight year, we didn't even need to mess with the play-in.
Yeah, that's also
true. We
had
to play in to get against Memphis, the D-Lo game. Pat Bev had to play in to be the 8th seed to play Denver, and then last year, obviously, we were the 3.
What do you think of Heat culture now?
They dominated your Bulls.
The funny thing is, apparently, Stacey King, who does, I think, analysis on the Bulls network, I don't know if it's TV or radio or both.
Yeah.
He had some interview yesterday where he basically by the end of it, you were not only thinking that the Bulls were going to win that game, you were thinking the Bulls were going to wake up the echoes of Michael Jordan.
He loves the young Bulls. He and Joe Cowley have been in some Twitter battles about that.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Cowley's not as convinced.
Cowley was vindicated last night because they were down, I think it was like 71-47 at the half, 72-47. And they cut it to like 12 or 13. But it is funny because Miami really doesn't have much at this point. But what you are reminded of is they do have a mindset, and they have, even though they've struggled from a record standpoint, their record's awful this year.
They're going to go out and play, though.
They're going to go out and play. And there's the now requisite sideline shot, really crowd shot, in which they show Pat Riley and Alonzo Mourning, who often sit side by side. But in this case, there was Riley on the left, an open seat, and Mourning on the right. And the Heat are up like 27. And by the looks on either of their faces, you would have thought it was a preseason game with nothing at stake.
Right.
Poker faces, not saying a word. But, I'm not saying they're about to go on a run because I don't think they probably have enough to do that. But that's the reminder, the way the league, the biggest lesson I think that franchises need to learn is that it really isn't just talent matters. Obviously, you have to have a certain measure of talent, but it's not the story. It's not the whole story. It's how you build things. It is the structure. It is sort of the sensibility of the team. So much of it is that because they almost got run out of the gym, and they were at home. That game was in Chicago.
Right.
They got killed.
Yep.
So
the Heat were 37-45. That's what they finished. That's it.
Yeah. So it's now the Heat go to Atlanta.
They play the Hawks tomorrow
for the opportunity to get probably killed by
or the Cavs.
No, the Cavs are one.
Cavs are
the
one.
Celtics are two. And sure enough, Jeannie Buss, whole hour show.
Did you listen?
Well, in and out. I was trying to work and get some stuff done.
Was it a coronation?
It was a love fest.
That's the problem.
It was like I said, I mock Wolves fans for being paranoid, but you'd had a right to be paranoid after listening to this thing. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think that Hollywood sign.
Yeah.
Up in the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah, I love that sign.
I think one of the hosts on with her was wearing a Hollywood T-shirt.
Probably.
Similar to WNBA Commissioner.
Kathy Engelbert.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
With the skyline of, was it Statue of Liberty or was it just the New York skyline?
It was everything.
Before for Game 7.
She handed the trophy.
Minnesota Lynx versus the Liberty.
I think it was Game 5, but
okay.
We want to be specific because we don't want the Brad Sean Brian KFAN text line.
That's a good point, yeah.
It was the entire skyline. Yeah, the Heat dominated the Bulls to such an extent that Mike Breen and Doris Burke and Richard Jefferson could give like a 4-minute goodbye to their sideline reporter who's going to work for Amazon.
They did, yeah, went on and on.
Yeah,
she was actually uncomfortable. It sounds like I got to do a
But they had to fill the time.
Yeah.
They were up like 40 points.
Yeah,
they had the time to let it breathe to do the tear-jerking goodbyes.
And then the other game, again, is it wrong of me to actually be rooting a little bit for the Dallas Mavericks?
I'm kind of all in on the Mavs.
I am too, because
Anthony Davis.
They're, of course, under siege. They just had that silly. Why they would have a quote unquote kind of a closed presser?
Ridiculous.
Before the season, they are eliminated. I don't understand that. They got ripped because Nico basically said, "I wouldn't change a thing." Well, what's he going to say?
None of that made sense.
They dominated Sacramento. In Sacramento. In fact, the Kings have already, I think, gotten rid of their general manager since then.
Ooh.
And I kind of would like to see the Mavs probably aren't going to go very far. So they now play in Memphis, right, for the chance to be number 8, correct?
Yes.
I believe that's how it works out. I think Dallas goes to Memphis.
Yes, they do tomorrow night.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas wins that game. And because they're big men, the vision they had, for whatever it's worth, I can't defend the trade. I don't think you're going to defend the trade. The trade's indefensible, especially when you could have gotten more. But in effect, what they're saying, we want to go very big, very mobile, play defense, and disrupt people, which in this game, again, the Kings are not a great team, but that's exactly what they did. So I actually feel good that they're getting a little bit. And Thompson's kid was outstanding. He had a big second quarter, shot well, Clay did. So that was the other. Neither game was all that competitive last night, but I think the Mavericks, to a certain extent, were the most interesting story just because they, of course, are under utter and complete siege.
And that's one where it's kind of like the Twins in some ways, where I'm pulling for the players of the Mavs because they didn't ask for any of this, right? They didn't ask for...
No, they didn't.
They didn't ask for their GM and owner to lose their mind and trade Luka. Anthony Davis obviously didn't ask for this, and I've never been a big AD guy, especially when he was with the Lakers. He just bothered me. Now I'm kind of pulling for him. Obviously, the Kyrie injury is a buzzkill. But I am pulling for them a little bit because none of them asked for any of this, and they're just out there trying to play. And their fans are the team's under siege. They're, fire Nico chants every game.
Under 24-hour guard.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And the players are just out there trying to do the best they can. So I'm with you on that.
The thing I don't understand about the late start times is why not do those on the weekend when people are more inclined to stay up? Because of TV. Why is this what? Is this Cro-Magnon period? I mean, again, we can hate the TV dictates to the degree that it does, but on weekends, guess what? There's TV draws that are lucrative, not as lucrative, you could say, as prime time, but lucrative, playing games all day, right? Again, it's just, I don't understand why this is that difficult for people. I guess I'm confused. How about somebody saying they smell a State Fair T-shirt? I survived the wild late night start time. Yeah, it may come to that.
We could probably sell those in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
I survived the 10 o'clock puck drop.
So a 10 o'clock puck drop probably be more like 10:20.
Yeah, that one is crazy.
Which means your average hockey game doesn't go 3, does it?
No, it's about 2:20.
Oh, maybe is it 2:20?
Yeah, maybe 2:30.
So
depending on Fallness's post-game show.
Shit, Jen. So you're already talking past midnight for sure. One. And then if you do get like 2 or 3 overtimes, you could go till 2:15, 2:30 easy.
Easily.
Yeah. Well, then you DVR it. Watch it or do what you do with your kid. There's a ways around it.
You know when we never complain about the late puck drop?
When's that?
Friday night of the state hockey tournament. When the first game goes
Isn't
overtime.
That funny?
I'm pretty sure they used to have 9 o'clock puck drops. Now they're like 8:30 for the second game.
Well, wait a minute. What about the kids? How are they going to get to grow up understanding the importance of the state high school
They
hockey
find
tournament?
a way in the state of hockey
Everybody
to figure it out.
finds a way.
We
It's
never
not that
complain
tough.
about the second Friday night semifinal.
No.
Especially, what if the first game goes overtime and then you're thinking about 10 o'clock?
I'm more interested in complaining if they get swept. Then I can understand some of that and saying I stayed up this late for this.
That's what always bothers me. And that's another sneaky thing about the Lakers is I always find myself, especially now with Luka, I'm going to be up at 11:30, probably going to have a couple of pops, and I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be mad about a call that Luka got. It's going to be the middle of the night. Someone's going to say something to me on Twitter, and I'm going to have to remind myself to put the phone away because I'm going to be pissed I'm up that late.
Yeah,
just
right.
to watch that. Just to watch Austin Reeves go crazy and dunk on somebody's head. I can already see it coming. I can see it coming. The West Coast games always get me like that.
It's very, very possible.
And we can't even wake up because they're not on Bally or FanDuel. We can't even wake up to Jimmy Haney.
You're right.
Giving us golf tips. So we can't even get the good golf tips that we'd like to get.
The
for
consolation prize we all look for after we get our rear ends handed to us. Sam Mitchell, we'll get his view on Wolves, Lakers, and maybe a little bit more. Haven't caught up with him in a while. A long time, of course, contributor to this program all over, I still think, NBA TV. He does SiriusXM NBA in the weekends. Former coach of the year, former Minnesota Timberwolves player, former Minnesota Timberwolves coach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Sam Mitchell is next. We can get Sam Mitchell worked up today and what the subject would be that we could get him going on. We're going to find out. He's joining us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline as we prepare for the start of technically the NBA playoffs. We've got play-in stuff continuing that'll continue, that was last night and continuing on Friday, but then the real stuff starts Saturday. Wolves and Lakers Saturday night right here.
Damn stuff.
So tell me something.
What do you mean the real stuff?
Well,
what do you mean the real
this
stuff?
This is like
I mean, look, man, if you guys are not going to take this stuff serious, then why should everybody else take it serious when you start saying stuff like that?
They should play these 4 games in Dayton, Ohio, like the play-in for the NCAA. This stuff is just the Wolves have graduated. We're out of it. There used to be a tradition for the Wolves. Now they're well past it.
Oh, okay, so now that the Wolves are past it, now you don't even have time to tolerate it now.
You are correct. That's
Boy,
100% correct.
It's amazing how we loved to play in when we was one of those teams, and now that we're not.
Now, back of our hand. Yeah, now we're utterly. We were talking right before the break.
You're a snob, man.
A little bit. I've been accused of that before on a number of levels. I plead guilty several times. So I'm done with Sirius XM NBA radio, by the way, which you are a part of.
Wow.
I'm done with
What
you
happened?
guys. Well, did you see what you guys
What
did?
happened?
Did you hear what you guys did today?
What happened?
Well,
I didn't hear it.
Today, basically, you turned the 1 to 2 o'clock hour into the Jeannie Buss show. I mean, why don't you guys just root for the Lakers to not? I mean, the Wolves are meaningless. The Jeannie Buss show. She had a whole hour with who's the Worldwide Wob,
Antonio Daniels.
and Antonio Daniels, and they basically turned over the whole thing to her. They let her run the whole show.
Look at this tweet. I'm just looking at this tweet that just happened to be here. Here are our exclusive 3-hour discussion with Lakers Governor Jeannie Buss on the Sirius XM app.
Come on, man. That's not fair.
Don't complain to me, dude. I just worked there. Jeannie Buss, the owner of the Lakers, dude. She got clout.
Well,
don't get mad at
where's
her
A-Rod's
because she
show?
can get 3 hours on Sirius XM radio and y'all can't.
Here's what you guys should do. Are you on Saturday morning this week?
I am on Saturday
You should
morning.
get A-Rod. Equal time that you guys should invite and
Hey, I tell you what. Okay.
Yeah.
If A-Rod willing to come on, done. Can you reach out to A-Rod?
We'll find a way. We'll try to be the conduit to say, and the key is to tell him, hey, look, man, they turned over a whole show to your compadre here.
I'm okay with that. And I'm sure my radio partner, Brian Gonzalez, would love that, to have A-Rod on. Absolutely.
You guys do a good job, by the way. I've told you that before. It's a really good show, both of you. And yeah, that would be fun, actually, be something. I'm obviously half kidding with her. It's a good get, actually. And I heard part of it. And there was, some decent stuff. But, I mean, let's talk about the matchup itself. Because I have not heard if you've talked much about it yet. And I am very curious to get your view on, the Wolves versus the Lakers. What are you paying attention to? What comes to mind? What do you think?
Dude, on paper, you guys, the Lakers have the best two dynamic players.
Yes.
But I think the Wolves have the best team. I really believe that. And I think Anthony Edwards is just a step below Luka.
Mm-hmm.
And in some arguments, you could say he's better than LeBron at this stage. Now, again, better than LeBron, and LeBron 40 years old. So people don't get all upset. We hope he is better than the 40-year-old LeBron, but not by much. So I say you got the two players in LeBron and Luka that are just going to capture everybody's imagination. But when you look at the Wolves, you look at the team, they're healthy now. Julius Randle seems to have found his way with this team, his niche. Look, I know Vegas is picking the Lakers, but I think the Wolves are the best team, and I think the Wolves are going to win. I would be shocked if the Wolves don't win this series.
You've hit on, I think, the key challenge for the Wolves, because you lay that out pretty well and pretty persuasively. But close games, and the assumptions are going to be close games. They've got two closers. The Wolves, and we discovered this in the Mavericks series, they might have one. The truth is, even at ends of games, Anthony's been up and down. He's got a lot of responsibility. And to me, that's the question. Can they make the right plays at the end of games?
They better not let it get to the end of the game.
Well, there you go.
They better not let it come down to a one-possession game. Because I'm telling you right now, if it comes down to a one-possession game with Luka and LeBron, that would scare the bejesus out of me, because we know those guys can make shots and make plays.
Yeah.
And this is what's even scarier. When they have the ball in their hand, they make Austin Reeves and everybody else that much better. So it's not just worried about Luka and LeBron putting a dagger in you scoring.
Yeah.
It's about them facilitating and making plays, because Luka and LeBron are going to make somebody help.
No question.
The question is, when you help, do you have the players on the floor that can rotate and get to their open shooters? If I was the Lakers, you know who I would start? I would go small. I would not start Jackson Hayes. I would start Rudy Hachimura at center.
Mm-hmm.
I would start LeBron at the 4.
Yeah.
I would have Luka. I would probably have Austin Reeves. And then I would probably slide Vanderbilt into the lineup. And I would see how the Wolves would match up.
Yeah.
Because I would want Rudy Gobert on the floor as less as possible. Why? I don't want a rim protector on the floor.
Yeah.
The best way to take a rim protector off the floor is put somebody on the floor that he has to guard that he's going to have trouble guarding. And I remember this, and let me see if you remember this. Who was Luka guarding in the Wolves series?
Nobody, basically.
Who did they put him on Rudy Gobert, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so it's going to be interesting. Chris Finch, he's got to not take the bait and try to play the Lakers style of basketball and match down to the Lakers.
I agree with you.
He can't do it. He's got to play big.
Let me give you some numbers on Rudy. This is via Alan Horton, the outstanding radio voice of the team. Since Rudy returned from a back injury on March 9, he's averaging 33 minutes, 15.4 points, 12.5 rebounds, 70.7% field goals. His offensive rating is the 11th best in the league. His defensive rating is third best. His net rating, for whatever that analytic is worth, second best. His plus-minus, third best. He's played really well. So what you're saying is the Lakers better, the Wolves better keep him on the floor. I think you got to find a way to do it. As much as always postseason, what's the talk? You can play Rudy off the floor. I'm with you. I think the Wolves have to find a way to make him part of the solution. Well, that means you're going to have to bite the bullet, and you're going to have some uncomfortable matchups out there at times. That's true. You know, can Rudy guard a Rudy Hachimura? Yeah, because, look, if he's shooting threes, if he makes a couple, I can live with that. God bless him, yeah. Where I would be more concerned about if he starts putting the ball on the floor, breaking down my defense, getting into the paint. True, yeah. I don't mind him shooting threes because I don't think in a 7-game series he's going to make enough threes in 7 games to beat me. How about this? When the Wolves are on offense, I look at the Lakers' lack of size and say, go downhill on these guys. Break them down. Be as assertive, explosive, and moving the ball as you can offensively. Just pop, pop, pop. I think that's the way you got to try to do it, don't you? But my question is this. Anthony Davis has been so good from the three-point line. Can you all of a sudden go to him and say, look, Anthony, I'm not telling you not to shoot the three, but what I'm telling you is every opportunity you get to get downhill and get into the paint and get them in foul trouble, it's going to be an advantage for us. Think about the Golden State Warriors game what Jimmy Butler did to OKC. You saw him in the open threes that he turned down and kept forcing his way to the basket. That's what the Wolves are going to have to do. The Lakers have no rim protectors. You got to attack the paint. Make them pay 100%, and especially if they go even smaller, as you said to me. And look, that's the threading the needle part with Anthony Edwards. He's become obviously an improved three-point shooter. He finished the season with the most made three-point shots. I think he's at like 39.5% for the year. And so it's a weapon. It's undeniable. And with Towns gone, they needed somebody to try to take up some of the three-point line slack. But you know and I know, Edwards is at his most effective, I think, again, psychologically against the other team, if he's pounding at him and he's going to the hoop. And it can be to pass. It doesn't have to be just to score. And honestly, I think that's what I want to see. You know, Randall, you mentioned how he's figured it out, and largely it's because he had a great quote the other day. I'm not worried about scoring 30 anymore. He said, I know I can score, but I wanted to figure out how can I best help this team? And what he learned while he sat, Sam, was as a facilitator, I'm pretty damn good, and I can open things up for other people, and that's how I make this team better. And I think you hit it. That's a key thing. Yeah. Didn't we know that? Didn't we say that early? Give him the ball and let him play that point forward. Julius Randle is happy. Look, man, it's like Draymond Green. You got some players, they just got to have the ball in their hand. Right. They don't have to shoot. Yeah. For them, having the ball in their hand is validation that they're a good player in their mind. Give him the ball. He's going to pass it 90% of the time anyway, so let him pass it. Yeah. Well, I have no problem with that. Look, man, I've always liked Julius Randle. I think Julius Randle, I like guys who are physical with the basketball, who beat people up when they have the ball. I like that type of basketball. But again, I'm glad that Julius Randle has found his niche. If I was the Wolves, slow the game down, play big, and pound the Lakers. Yeah. Hit the offensive glass,
Make Luka and LeBron do the dirty stuff that they don't want to do. And what I mean by that, make LeBron get his ass to the baseline and have to put a body on somebody.
Right.
Make Luka have to put a body on somebody. Don't let them play a clean basketball game. Make the game physical and ugly, and make LeBron and Luka get down and dirty.
Here's what's different about Randall with the ball in his hands, and I think this is crucial. It's not sticking with him, though. Even when he has it, he's making quicker decisions. Sometimes he's doing the old bully ball where he backs somebody in, and that has its effectiveness. But most of the time, Sam, it's I'm going to facilitate. So I don't have to hold it for long. If I see somebody open on the wing, I'm getting it. I may take 2 dribbles, get in better position, and get the ball to him. He's making quicker decisions, and I think that's another reason. That's another thing I think you have to see in this series is don't be deliberate with the ball. Don't isolate with this ball. Either Edwards or Randall. Actually, I think that makes them more of a challenge to the Lakers defensively.
Dan, I agree with you, but one thing Julius got to do, though, he still got to be ready to score, man. He still got to be, look, I say this all the time. The best pick and roll offensive players in the league are guys who going to score. Because the defense got to understand, when I come off that screen, my first thought is to score. Now, once the defense is suffice and does a good job, now my next move is to make the teammates better. But you got to have that scorer's mentality to get the defense to react. Yeah. If not, they're just going to play you soft, right? You can't. That's why Draymond Green is not effective going to the basket. Why? People know Draymond Green going to the basket to pass.
Mm-hmm. So here's the other big challenge. As you know, the assumption.
You sound concerned. You are worried about this matchup.
No, I just like breaking it down with you. So here, but I think this is a concern. You tell me the best approach on this, because this is crucial. Anthony Edwards has pledged no technical fouls. I'm done with it. I'm not going to worry about it. He's saying all the right things. We've heard that before. Here's the deal. How does he stick with it? As a coach, how did you try to convince players to say, leave the lobbying to me? I'll try to work it. There is an art to it. There is an importance to it. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to stand up for you. But if you guys get obsessed with the fact that often it's going to look like Luka's going to get a couple extra calls or whatever, or LeBron might get a couple extra calls, we're cooked. Because if we start working in that mindset, we're concentrating on the wrong things.
Kellen, just how you just said it, you said Anthony was down and you remind him of what he said and you hold him to it. And when he looks like he's starting to lose his cool, you either call a timeout or you take him out the game for a minute. Guys, there's nothing wrong with taking a player out for 1 minute and put him right back out there. People act like that's the end of the world. Oh, he took Anthony Edwards out the game. I took him out the game for 1 minute. As by the time he walks down to the bench and get a cup of water, I'm going to call him back up to go back in the game. I'm just doing this for him to calm down and for me not having to use a timeout to do it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. You're right.
There's nothing wrong with that. And people need to understand that and people need to get a grip. But this is on Anthony Edwards. This is the time when you prove yourself. Look, the regular season is what you get paid. You earn your money in the regular season. You earn who and what you are and your status in the playoffs. Legends are born in the playoffs.
That's true.
You can get your money in the regular season. You get paid by what you do in the regular season. But you earn your reputation. Think about this. Jimmy Butler can average 14 points a game in the regular season. Yes. No one's going to say a word. Right. Yeah. But come playoff time and his playoff Jimmy, it's a different animal. He's a different animal. And that's what Anthony Edwards, I think Anthony understands that. That's why he's already talking about no technical fouls. And I love this matchup for the Wolves, man. Look, the Western Conference, if you're going to come out the West, you're going to have to beat good teams.
That's true.
This is not the East, where it's everybody against Cleveland and Boston. No, it's going to be some upsets in the first round. And the fact that the Lakers and Wolves are playing in the first round, Dan, I expect this to be a 7-game series.
I do too.
I would be shocked if it's not. And then I would be shocked if the Wolves don't win it. I just think the Wolves, don't play the Lakers game, the Wolves will win if the Lakers have to try to play big. If they have to play Jackson Hayes 25 to 30 minutes a game, the Wolves got a good chance to win the series. If Jackson Hayes only has to play 10, 12 minutes, the Wolves might be in trouble. Because that means their smaller lineup is kicking their butt.
Are you familiar with Mike Conley?
absolutely.
Yeah, he's the Timberwolves point guard. He's almost as old as you are. We had him on a couple of days ago, and but that same day, we have him on like basically every other week. He's been a really good guest. As you know, he's a soft-spoken guy, but he has a lot to say. He's played, this is, I think, year 17 or 18. But earlier in the day, before he was on with us, he was with all the media jackals. And he had a couple, I think, really interesting observations about Anthony Edwards, about Ant. I want you to listen, and then we'll have a chance for you to react. Let's listen to this.
It's going to be a big series for Ant. Like, he's got to be able to grow up, right in front of us and be able to handle what he's about to experience. It's going to be a lot of trying to get the ball out of his hands. They're going to try to be smarter than us. They're going to try to wit us in a lot of different areas, and he's got to be patient. He's got to be able to be thinking ahead of the game. Like I said, LeBron does it all the time. Ant, you got to start looking at the second and third layer of things, and doing it for your teammates, doing it for yourself, make the game easier on yourself, and then us as your teammates, we have to make the game easier on you by knocking down shots and creating space for you and doing our part of it. So if we can connect on those things, I think he'll be fine. There's no time better than right now. I think it's necessary for us to win, honestly. So if we're gonna have a chance to win the series, he's got to be that guy, and I think he can be and will be for us. So he's been locked in. Since we knew we were playing the Lakers, he was already texting the groups and getting us all ready and watching film and ready to go. So I know that he's gonna be ready.
Second and third layer, Sam. I love that quote, and that's between the head stuff he's talking about. Correct?
Yep. Exactly, man. Look, the talent is there. This kid, I think, look, I'm not worried about Anthony Edwards. I'm not. Anthony Edwards have shown, if he's shown us anything, that the moment is never too big for him. So I'm not worried about Anthony Edwards. I'm worried about everybody else. Mm-hmm. Like Mike Conley said, can they do enough to make the Lakers honest? Because the Lakers going to double up. They're going to make other people shoot. Can the Wolves make enough shots to keep the Lakers honest and stop letting them double up and triple up on Anthony Edwards? And then, last but not least, can the Wolves guard them? I mean, look, we're talking about Luka and LeBron, but the Lakers got a third option, Austin Reeves, who's been pretty good this year. So, I mean,
yes.
The Wolves got their hands full defensively now because the Lakers got three guys that can all go get 30 points.
Do you trust Oklahoma City?
I trust what I've seen the whole season in the regular season, but the playoffs are a little bit different. I'm going to say yes because of what they've done and have a 17, 18 game lead in the Western Conference. They didn't sneak up on anybody. Everybody saw this coming. So I'm going to say yes, Dan, for this reason. Their depth is undeniable. They're one of the deepest teams I've ever seen. When you got guys in the ninth spot or the ninth man in your rotation can come off the bench and get 30, then you got something. So, yeah, I believe in OKC. And I'm a Chet Holmgren fan, too.
Yeah, hard not to be. Staying with the West, I watched that last game, Clippers Warriors, that really determined who the Wolves were going to play in the first round. Because if the Warriors had won that game, the Wolves would have been matched up against Denver again, and it went the other way. And I had not watched the Clippers much, and they look to me like they're good. Yeah, that they're sneaky. I don't even know if sneaky is the right word. That they're very dangerous.
Yeah, and when you look at the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard is playing back at a high level. James Harden has had an outstanding season. Don't get caught up in his shooting percentages. Understand the fact that James Harden played 79 games this year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Look at Zubac. Yeah. Zubac, to me, is one of the most underrated players, not just centers, but players in the NBA. You factor in that with Kawhi, Ty Lue, and that coaching staff, and then the depth that they have at the wings. Hey, man, the Clippers are for real. So I'm telling you, the West is scary, man.
It is.
I still say OKC can come out. But think about something. Boston and Cleveland won't really be tested until they play each other in the conference finals. Now, can Orlando scare Boston a little bit with their size? I normally would say so, but with all the injuries they've had and how they've looked this year, maybe not. But, dude, I mean, whoever comes out the West may be so beat up, they may not have a leg to stand on.
That's also true. We haven't talked since, obviously, there was some unusually late season coaching dismissals. We thought the Memphis one was late until, obviously, the Denver one. And I'm curious to get your view of it, because at first I thought, well, this is insane. I mean, you can't, even if you think that there you might have to make a coaching change with the loan, you got to give them another playoff run. And then these stories start coming out. I don't know whether to believe them. You got good sources. Was it as bad and as open? Was there as much open warfare there as has been reported? Did that make it like, well, yeah, the ownership finally said we're tired of this nonsense. We're just gonna clean up. What did you make of the timing?
Dan, I thought the timing was crazy, but obviously it has to be some truth to it. For the owner to fire a championship coach, the winningest coach in franchise history, who just took them 2 years ago to a championship, and his team, he's coaching the best player on the planet, to fire him with a week before the playoffs, and the team is solidly in the playoffs, I thought was crazy. So that just tells you things had got so bad to where Josh Kroenke just couldn't take it anymore. And look, there's a lot of front offices that are dysfunctional. That's not surprising. What's surprising is that it got out to the level that it got out, and then it spilled over into the locker room to the point. Because a lot of times, Dan, the arguments and stuff that go on in the front office, we as coaches and general managers, we can keep that stuff between us, right? Very rarely does that stuff get to the players. But when it gets to the players, and the players see the dysfunction, and think about what we're preaching to the players all the time: teamwork, working together, trust, all those things. Yeah. But you got a front office up there that's fighting like cats and dogs and don't like each other.
Yeah.
So you can't come down to the court and talk to the players about teamwork and trust and working together and accountability and all this stuff. And then in the front office, they fighting like cats and dogs. Don't work that way.
Were you, this is the most important question I'm going to ask you today. Were you as offended as Isaiah Thomas was that LeBron James worked out without a shirt 4 hours before the Lakers game the other day? I loved the rant, man. You weren't on the set that night, I don't think, were you? I don't believe you were. Yeah.
No. Look, man, Zeke is my dear friend. I love Zeke, and I get what he's saying. I don't understand why LeBron needs to be out there without a shirt on. I mean, but I guess if you're LeBron James and you look the way you look,
that's it.
You can take the shirt off. Now, me, back in the day, I wouldn't have done it, because even though my body looked good, not as good as LeBron, but I was just modest. I didn't, I was raised. I don't walk around like outside in the summertime. Dude, even when I go to the beach, if once I get out the water, I put a shirt on. I just don't walk around on the beach with my shirt off. I'm just here, I don't know. Maybe it's a southern thing.
Yeah, it's just, maybe it is. It's just a little more modest. I don't know. I said, given it was 4 hours before, I didn't think, because there's like nobody there yet. But
there's nobody. Only the people in the arena 4 hours before the game are people setting up concession stands and stuff like that. And they're not even paying no attention.
And they're not. But what I love, I'm old enough. I covered Isaiah when he was in college. That's how old I am, and I just loved the passion of it. I'm not sure, as Guardsy, my producer, said, that's the hill to die on, but I just loved that it was so he was earnest. I don't think that was put on at all. He was bugged by it.
No.
Yeah.
No, dude. I mean, for some guys, man, I mean, this stuff, look, it's almost like a player is saying, look at me.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
You're already LeBron James. Everybody always looking at you. But again, look, it's not that big a deal to me. Maybe if your body looked like that, hell, I'll take my shirt off too sometimes.
It's not a problem.
Think about it, Dan.
Yeah.
If I was a billionaire, and in the argument of the best player of all time, and I got $1 billion, and I'm still making more money, and I'm good looking. Hey, man, what the hell knows what we might do there?
Yeah, I guess all bets might be off at that point. That's very true. All right, so what's your schedule? You doing a lot of NBA TV stuff right away, or what? Where can people find
Not a lot, just because with all the games we keep in, but I'm doing a lot of radio, man, doing a lot of host appearances, talking about the playoffs, watching the playoffs. So far, I thought the play-in games, the Hawks game against Orlando wasn't as intriguing, which I didn't think it would be, because Orlando, before the injuries, was a top 4 team in the East.
True.
And so, but I thought the Warriors game was, the Warriors-Memphis game was great. I thought that, look, I was shocked that Miami took Chicago apart the way they did, because Chicago really looked good down the stretch, but Miami took them apart. And that just goes to tell you something about that Miami culture, Eric Spoelstra. So, But so far, I think the playing games have been good. I love the fact that some of these teams have thought they could lollygag through the regular season and then do it and pick it up like Philly and some of these other teams are at home watching. Think about this, Dan. We're now in the era where only 5 teams out of each conference don't make the playoffs in some shape, form, or fashion.
That's true.
10 teams do.
Yeah.
Think about if you're one of those 5 teams. Now, unless you're Washington or somebody like that or Utah that we know are rebuilding. But if you're Philly, think about Daryl had to go in there and talk to the owner and tell him, out of 30 teams, 20 of them are going to make the playoffs in some shape, form, or fashion. And we're not one of 20. Well, now think about that.
Yeah, it's not good. Well, that and they had to make sure they finished bottom 5, right?
And think about this. Look, that's why Phoenix fired Coach Budenholzer.
Yeah.
Matt, the owner could not understand. I'm paying you $12 million a year.
Yeah.
I got Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, and I can't get 10. I can't get the 10 spot.
Yeah. It's
I don't even get a chance to roll the dice to have a prayer to get into the tournament. I can't even get 10.
He fires. He's got a new coach. You're going to have another new coach there. It's amazing. I mean,
hey, man.
Coach a year.
Hey, man, look. Hey, the guys who are getting fired, if they're getting 5-year deals at $12 million a year, they may be initially upset, but 2 years from now when they go to the mailbox and them checks are still rolling in and they realize they got 2 or 3 more years of them checks coming in, they'll be okay.
By the way, I'm assuming now that the ownership change is, and there's every reason to believe it's going to be approved, the new owners, then that means KG's going to come back. They're going to have a big day for him. They're going to retire his number. There's going to be a big banner raise. So. You're going to, and there's no question, you'll be invited back to that. Your job, your assignment for us, for this show, is to convince KG to come on this program. I mean, come on. You know him well. That's the time. The tension's off. Glenn Taylor is not a part of it anymore, and we know how KG feels about him. That's in the past. So your job is to convince him.
I tell you what I do. When the day comes and they bring us back and they have the statue and they're going to have this big celebration for KG, I will sit down and I will beg him for he and I to come on and do a guest appearance on your show.
That'd be outstanding. That'd be even better. 2 of you in here. Are you kidding me?
I'm tearing up just thinking about that.
I'm blubbering.
If he would do it, if he needs me to do it with him, I'll do it.
There you go. Maybe that would ease it for him because that's.
Dan, I like you that much that I would actually do that.
I'm inspired. Are you inspired? This is outstanding.
I've got goosebumps and I'm all in.
Dan, look, people can look. 2 things I know about you. You're a decent human being and you're a good person.
Well,
the stuff you say sometimes on the radio is just your job. It's not who you are all the time.
Yeah. Well, no,
and people need to understand
it's
that.
It's an opinion job, as you know. You've done it. You're in it now. You know how that is. I mean, it's just.
I do. Sometimes people call me and get all upset with me and want to go off, coach. I'm like, guys, understand something. I'm just giving you my opinion from 10,000 feet above. I'm not in the building. I can't tell you exactly what's going on. All I can do is give you my estimation on what I see and what's been reported in the media.
All right. That's it. That's all you can do. I appreciate that pledge. I'm wondering if you would consider one other pledge. The next time you do a studio on-camera show, not radio, but TV, would you consider wearing the Rob Pelinka jacket that he wore to the Luka press conference?
Hey, Dan. Come on now. You know me. Come on now.
I guess that's enough.
I only go so far.
Thanks, man. We'll be watching. We'll be listening. Appreciate
Anytime.
you as always.
Hey, go Wolves, man. Yeah. Look, I'm pulling for the Wolves. Anthony Edwards, my homeboy. Rudy Gobert and everybody in the front office, man. Let's get it done, Wolves. You're the best team. Don't forget that.
Thanks, Sam.
All right, guys.
Sam Mitchell helping us out as only he can do. Top 5 at 5? Yeah, why not? It might be a little bit scrunched, but we could even extend it if Guardsy's got a lot of good material. And then we're, I believe, guest-free the rest of the way. What do you want to include?
A Lee Corso moment, and Aaron Rodgers has broken his silence.
Oh.